As a mom of 5, I find myself being hard on myself a lot. So I love to use makeup sometimes as my only way of getting out. There are days when I stay home for the entire day. I don't go anywhere, I don't see anyone, but I like to use makeup to play around with just to refresh myself and make me feel a little bit more done up for the day, especially in a world where there's so much negativity and so much bad stuff going on. It's refreshing to see a company bring out so much positivity in all of their products. And I just love the whole idea behind the company. So congrats to Shine Cosmetics for having such a wonderful, wonderful products and company.
Hey everybody, it's Jordan Page from FunCheaperFree.com and BudgetBootcamp.com. Welcome to the I Am Mom Summit. Wow! Hopefully you guys have had a great time. Hopefully you've listened to some great speakers, or maybe I'm your first speaker, in which case, buckle up. It's gonna be a wild ride. I'm so glad to be here speaking to you. I'm a mom. I've got 5 kids. I just so happen to have them within 6 years. They're about 18 months apart. So if you see premature grays and dark circles, you know why. But that's really why I'm here speaking to you today, because I love that this is a conference for moms. How often do we get the opportunity to learn from each other and to feel uplifted and to learn that you can and should do such amazing things while doing what's most important, which is being a mom at the same time. So today I'm gonna teach you guys about the simplest budgeting method or technique, whatever you wanna call it, that you will ever do in your life, ever. I don't know if you've ever heard of me or not, so let me give you a little background. I'm a blogger. I blog at FunCheaperFree.com, and I started blogging back, probably like 2011. And at that time, I initially started this little blog because I wanted to post all of the fun, cheap, or free things that there were to do in and around Utah. Because at the time, my husband and I were going through our FD, or our financial disaster, as we called it. And at that time, it was rough. It was hard. We basically went from 2 incomes to 1 when my husband decided to quit his job and start a business. He'd had a dream for a long time and the timing just felt right, you know? So that was rough. And then I supported our family for a year, but I really wasn't making that much money. It was just kind of an interim job, as during that year, we decided to get pregnant and start our family. So then the ultimate goal was for me to be a stay-at-home mom and to stay home and raise our kids. So at some point, we kind of ended up going from like 2 incomes to 1, kind of down to like 0, because my husband's business took a few years to take off. And if any of you are self-employed or have entrepreneur husbands, or if you're an entrepreneur yourself, you know that can be a little rough. And in that time, wouldn't you know, we decided to dump all of our money, wipe out our savings accounts, and put it into a property, which was essentially like an investment property. We were gonna live in it for a few years, and it was gonna be this great thing. And we put all of our money into building it, and it didn't work out. We basically had to choose between the home and the business. We chose the business, and we had to walk away from the home. So let me recap here. We're newlyweds. I'm pregnant, and then in this story, I have a newborn. We went from 2 incomes to 1 income very abruptly, and then from 1 income to pretty much 0 income as my husband's income limped along for many years. And we had 0 in savings because of a real estate investment that did not work out. All right, are you stressed out for me? Maybe you can relate to any of that. I started blogging because we got out of debt really fast. We kind of lived off of credit cards a couple of months. It was hard and kind of scary, and within really a short amount of time, we'd racked up about $15,000 of debt, most of that on credit cards. And we had an SUV that we couldn't really afford because, you know, when you get married, you gotta get a big kit car, right? So we made all sorts of great decisions. Well, we buckled down, and I'll tell you exactly how in a second, but we were able to pay off all of that debt, all of it. $15,000 of credit card debt, and then another just under $11,000 car loan that we couldn't afford. We paid all of that off in 1 year while only making about $31,000. We didn't win the lottery. We didn't have a giant tax refund. Nobody gave us money. We didn't get a bonus at work, none of that. We just got scrappy and we worked really hard. I was so excited about this. It was going so well, and it was really like life-changing for us. I decided to blog about all of the fun, cheaper, free things that we were doing in Utah, because during this time we had no money, but there were so many fun things to do. It was like this whole new world opened up to us as we discovered that you don't have to spend money at all, or at least you don't have to spend a lot of money to have this great life and do a lot of fun things, right? So I started blogging about it, And it just felt a little shallow to me. And no one was really reading it. There were like 5 readers and 3 of them were my mom and her sisters. It didn't have a lot of soul, let's just say, a lot of heart. And there were all these other coupon blogs out there. And so I thought to myself, like, you know what? I'm just not cut out for this. I'm not cut out for blogging. And maybe I should just go back to doing the mom thing. And I'll just tell my friends how great it is to get out of debt quickly and stuff. But I didn't give up. And my husband gave me a pep talk. And he said to me, he's like, Jordan, why would you start a blog and talk about everything that everybody else is already talking about? Like, why don't you just talk about what you feel like is important and what you feel like really made a difference for us? So I kept the blog name, Fun, Cheaper, Free. But really, ever since that point, I started blogging about the stuff that's really hard to talk about. Fighting about money, debt, when your paycheck just isn't enough, the struggle between being a spender and knowing that you need to save or pay off debt and finding the balance there. All these things that get really tricky, including how much to pay for a babysitter and how much to pay for grocery shopping, which apparently next to a woman's weight and age is like, don't ask those questions, right? So I started blogging about those things, and wouldn't you know, it just took off. Really, where I am now, a couple years later, is I still am just a mom. I'm not a financial planner. I am not an accountant. In fact, I have never taken a personal accounting class. Don't hang up. I promise I have good tips that'll help regardless. What I am is I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I'm a woman who loves Target and Costco and Disneyland, and I love shoes. I have a lot of them. I've got a big home and a big family, and I like to travel and do all these things, but I need to do them on a budget and do them while being frugal. And I've been able to marry the two and create this incredible life for myself and my family that has just far exceeded any expectation I could have ever set, ever. And along the way, in my blog, I started sharing these tips with people. I've been on the Today Show. I've been on Rachael Ray several times. Good Morning America, Inside Edition. I've been on radio shows. I've been in magazines. It's been really neat because I think there are so many amazing finance experts out there. They really are, and they teach such good things. But once in a while, you kind of just need a girlfriend. You kind of just need a girlfriend that struggles with it as much as you do, that really has been in the trenches and every day has to make a conscious effort to work hard and keep at it, that it doesn't come supernaturally. I'm not great at math. It's not like I love budgeting. It's not like I have this great interest in numbers, never had. But we are the same because we want to live a great life and we have an income that we have to do it within. It's expanded now and I have a YouTube channel. I hope you go check it out. And most importantly, I have a budgeting program called budgetbootcamp.com. P.S. if you use the code IAMMOM, you can get 15% off. It's been really humbling. There have been hundreds of thousands of families whose lives have been changed. So what I'm gonna do today is I'm going to sit down and I'm just gonna talk to you as a girlfriend, mom to mom, and I'm gonna give you some of my best tips. It's gonna be maybe a little bit of drinking from a fire hose because I have a lot to cover in a short amount of time, but my goal is to just give you a few principles and tips that have been my most popular or most viral tips or have helped the most people, and then you can take them and do with them what you'd wish and maybe adapt them to your own situation, your own lifestyle, and help it to kickstart the life that you've always dreamed of and that you know deep down is possible, you just don't know how to get there. With that being said, let's just do it. The very first thing I want to teach you about, and lucky for you, I brought my handy dandy, anyone watch Blue's Clues? Whiteboard. Oh, the phone's making noise. Hold up. Okay, the very first principle I'm going to teach you today in terms of whipping your wallet into shape and kickstarting your budget in a really simple way is to help you know how much you should be spending. So that's really kind of the big question. It's like everybody's got different incomes. Everybody lives in a different part of the world. Everybody has a different living situation. So how can I say your budget should be this amount of dollars, your budget should be this? So I'm gonna teach you a rule or a calculation or a principle or whatever you wanna call it, so that wherever you are in your life, whether it's feast or whether it's famine or somewhere in between, we've been everywhere at this point, that you know at the end of the day, my children are breaking things in the other room, I can hear it, what your budget should be or what you should be living off of. And I call this principle, it's pretty easy, dun, 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 the 70% rule. Oh, that's bright. This is so simple. When you get paid, you should be living off of no more than 70% of that. So 70% of your take-home income is for spending. Or less, let me say that. Oh boy, this whiteboard thing, sorry, my handwriting's really bad. My husband and I have this lifelong goal to be 40% or less of what we bring home. I don't know if we'll ever get there. We're getting close though, I have to say. So basically, no matter what your paycheck is, what gets deposited into your account, 70% is what you should be living off of. This can be tricky. I have a friend who, she's single, she makes great money at her job. And one day she called me and she's like, Jordan, oh my gosh, this is so frustrating. I make good money. She's a nurse. At the time, she was making like $80,000, but I'm in debt. I have this balance on my credit card that I cannot pay off, and at the end of the month, I have no money left. Where has the money gone? I sat on the phone with her for quite a while, helped her crunch her numbers and figure it out. Come to find out, she was living as if she was making $80,000. But she told me she was making $80,000, but guess what? She wasn't. Maybe that's what her tax statement says. Maybe that's what her job offer says. But at the end of the day, what was being deposited into her account after taxes and withholdings and insurances and all these other things was really more like 60. And that's a big difference. So when I talk about your income or money that goes into your bank account, please keep in mind that this is after taxes, withholdings, everything else, what actually hits your bank account. From now on, for the rest of your life, your ultimate goal is that 70% or less of that money is what you use for your bills, your mortgage, your medical expenses, your spending, your travel, everything 70% or less. Quick disclaimer, there was a time in our life where that would have been physically impossible. Our income was too small. There's no way that we could physically have lived off of 70% of our already tiny income. So keep in mind that if that's your case and you cut out all the expenses that you can and it still can't get within that 70%, then there's a point where your goal then needs to just be to increase your paycheck, just like we did. There were several years that were really hard and really scrappy and we made next to nothing, but we had a long-term plan in mind, and that plan was that over time his income would increase so then we could fit nicely in that 70%. So there you go. There's really your first budget, is if you don't know how much your family should or shouldn't be spending, 70% of whatever you deposit is a good place to start. So where does the other 30 go? I'll go over this really quickly because that's not really like my main purpose in this talk, but you need to know. 20% is gonna go into savings. Saving, I can't fit the S, so we're just gonna go with this. Oh, mama. 70% is for spending, 20% goes into savings. What we do and what I recommend is to take that 20% and actually split it in half and put 10% into an emergency savings account that you really hopefully never touch, that it's just in case of a dire emergency. And the other 10% just goes into like a normal family savings account. And that's what you would use, you know, to save up for a down payment on a car, or maybe you need a new bedroom set, maybe you want to go on vacation, whatever it is. And then hopefully the emergency account, you never, ever, ever have to touch. Again, I'm quickly going through this. If you go to funcheaperfree.com/70, it'll lead you straight to a blog post that has a video about this and a lot of details that'll really help break it down. We also break it down in major detail at budgetbootcamp.com. But for now, I'm just gonna breeze through it, okay? 70% for spending, 20% for savings. Now the last 10%, this is kind of a personal 10%, so I'm gonna leave it blank. In our family, we tithe 10% of our income. We always have and we always will. We tithe it to our church. So you could do something in terms of donations or something philanthropic, or for some people, that's what they use for investing. Maybe they put that toward their 401k or retirement. For some people, maybe that's what they use to set aside for their children's college educations. You can really decide for you. But I will say this, if you have debt, if you have lingering debt on credit cards especially, pressing debt as I call it, that's like really high interest, you really need to pay it off quick, don't worry about savings, don't worry about investing. It all needs to go toward the debt until the debt is gone, because that debt is only hurting you. Your savings is gonna do you no good if you've got money on a credit card. Maybe get $1,000 into savings just so you have a little cushion. The rest, every dime you can spare, go toward the debt until the debt's paid off. And then come back and work on building up your savings. So that was us. We paid off $15,000 of credit card debt in 1 year on $31,000 because every dime we could spare went toward that debt. And then after that year, when the debt was paid off, we didn't go back up to spending all of our money. No, we kept exactly as we did, spending as little as possible until we built up about 3 to 6 months to live off of in there. And then we could breathe a little. And all of that happened within 2 years. It was so fast. The time is gonna pass anyway. Might as well have a plan. Put your dollars to work for you, right? So there you go. So that's kind of the first of my 3 major tips that I'm gonna share with you today. The way to start with budgeting is to just know how much wiggle room you have sit down and do the math. And unfortunately, it kind of stings a little. You need to sit down and look at all of your credit card statements or your bank statements or whatever you use to spend money, whether it's a debit card. Cash is a little harder because there's not digital tracking, so you're probably gonna have to go back and look at receipts. You need to go back and look at how much you've been spending, and then you need to do the math and see if that fits within 70% of your take-home income. If it doesn't, you gotta start cutting stuff out until it does. So there you go, 70%, that's the ultimate goal. Now within that 70%, what do you do? How much do you spend? Like, how do I know how much I have for vacations or how much I have grocery shopping or whatever else? The next tip I'm gonna share with you is a marriage saving tip. Maybe you're married, maybe you're not. I figure most of us will be in a committed relationship at some point or another, or we have been. We're all moms after all. The best thing I can tell you is to divide and conquer. Think about any successful company that you've ever known. Why are they successful? Well, they're successful because they have good people on their teams that are working hard and good at what they do. Well, so do you think in those successful companies that they have 2 chief marketing officers, CMOs, or 2 CFOs, or even 2 vice presidents or 2 CEOs? No. Why? Why doesn't our government have 2 presidents? Isn't more of a good thing even better? No. Why? Think about that for a second. The reason is because there is such thing as too much of a good thing. If we had 2 presidents of the United States, we would probably be in a constant state of civil war. Why? Because you know what? People are born differently and they're wired differently. And even though at these companies or government or whatever, they sit in a meeting and they come up with a plan together and they're all on the same team fighting for the same goal, if you stick 2 people in a room together, ready, go, there's gonna be fighting. There's gonna be conflict because you have different ways of doing things and you have different skills. And plus, if there's all these people working on the exact same thing, who else is working on all the other stuff? There will be things left behind and balls that are dropped. It just wouldn't work. And it doesn't work. That's why any successful company does not have 5 CMOs and 5 CEOs and 5 vice presidents or 2 or whatever. Everybody sits down at a board meeting, they set goals together, they're all working for the same team, and then they divide up responsibilities and they say, ready, break. And then if it's not working, if somebody is not fulfilling their duties, they shuffle them to a new position or figure out what's going on. So I wanna ask you a question. Do you fight about money at home? Yeah, I know you do. If you think you don't, I don't know. You might be lying. Everybody has differing views or opinions. If you want to stop fighting about money, treat your money more like a business than like a marriage. And here's how to do that. It's so simple. You need to sit down, and you can kind of do this at the same time as you're figuring out your 70% rule. Again, you need to get all your bank statements, I say for the last 3 months, because you need an average, because you may have like a bad month or you may have a good month or a weird month or whatever. 3 months. It takes a while. Just go to dinner at a restaurant. You're less likely to fight and cry and yell at each other at a restaurant. Go to a restaurant with your laptops, print out your bank statements, whatever, and go through and look at everything you spent money on for the last 3 months. You can take a pink highlighter, you can take a blue one. Bubba and I literally did this, and go through line by line what you spend money on and divide who is responsible for that budget and that spending. That doesn't mean I'm in charge of groceries. Okay, for as long as I live, you can never step in a grocery store. You have no input on the meals. It doesn't matter what I spend. That's not for you to know. That's for me. No. Again, remember, we all meet together. We all set company goals. We talk about things. We share progress and stuff. It's more just that we are responsible for managing and heading up that budget and being the one to really take charge of it so that it doesn't get dropped while they're doing their responsibilities too. So then what happens is you end up having a, here we go, here's me, ooh, a big curly hair, woo, and eyelashes. Here's my husband, Bubba, he's pretty cute. There's our husband and wife list. Basically, you sit there and you do what makes sense. All right, let's think about what makes sense. So I'm a stay-at-home mom. Yeah, I blog and I do stuff, but really I'm with the kids like all day. So I'm with the kids, I'm in the car a lot, I'm driving around, I am driving them to all their activities, I'm taking them to the doctor, I'm the one going to any form of store, you know, so this is kind of what I do day to day. So doesn't it make sense that I would kind of be in charge of those budgets, right? So with the kids, sure, like I'm taking them to piano, taking them to birthday parties. So yeah, I'm gonna be in charge of the budget for the birthday presents and paying the piano teacher and finding and paying the babysitters. And I'm in the car, so I'm the one running the errands, you know, going to the post office and worrying about all that stuff. I am taking the kids to the doctor, so I'm the one paying the medical bills. Oh, let's spell store right. How about? I'm the one doing the cooking, really, and the meal planning, so I should be the one going to the grocery store and managing that. It just makes sense. Does that mean I make all the decisions? Does that mean I get to just plow Bubba over anytime I want? No. But that stinker? So then there's Bubba. What does he do? So he works, he's at the computer all day. He tries to do anything he can on apps or on his phone. He also really loves cars and knows a lot more about cars than I do. He is really into investments, small dry erase board, and all the things having to do with that. Okay, stuff like that, okay? So here's in a very chicken scratchy kind of way what our lists look like. Because he's at a computer, he's the one managing our bank accounts. He's the one handling things with our attorney and setting up our wills, our living wills, things like that. He's the one that does the research, finding the best credit cards for us to use or the best insurance, because that's all stuff he can do online. He handles anything having to do with the cars, because I know next to nothing. I would be on the phone with him at the mechanic shop anyway, asking him all the questions. Let's just cut out that issue and just get Bubba over there, right? Now, just like any good company, I recommend having regular meetings. We used to call them weekly weigh-ins, and every Sunday we would sit down and we would go over, not saying, hey, how did you do this week on your budget? How did you do on this? Why did you spend this? No, 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 no. Just like in a board meeting, you basically stand up and present to the group how you did, where you're at, how things are going for you, and then it really avoids conflict and fighting and finger pointing. That's really when you can kind of touch base, set goals together, and see where you're at with things. So you're working for the same team, you've got the same common goals, you're just dividing and conquering instead of stepping all over each other's toes and getting in each other's business and fighting all the time. So now, the last thing I'm gonna teach you today is, now you know how much you should be spending as a family, now you know your personal responsibilities as a mom, because you've gone through those, and we are going to focus on your responsibilities and how to budget for those. This is the fun part, I promise. Hold on. Right now, I want you to think about your responsibilities, or what you feel like they could be, because I know you probably haven't divided and conquered yet since we just met. That's okay, you'll get there. So just think about it. What do you feel like your responsibilities would be? And what do you feel like your regular spending would be? Okay, now I want you to remove from that list anything that has to do with bills, utilities, and things that could be set up on auto pay that are regular, like piano lessons, dance lessons, maybe daycare, preschool tuition, any form of bill, utility, something that could be set up on auto pay, and then also things that are repairs or emergencies, like even medical bills or car repairs, things like that. I really want you to focus for a second on the things you spend money on day to day. This would be things like groceries, like taking my kids to a play place for lunch, baby shower gifts or birthday gifts, clothes or decor for my home, going to the movies or going out to eat, things like that that are kind of the regular day-to-day or week-to-week spending. More often than not, they're optional, not necessary, like utilities or bills or medical expenses. So that is what I want you to focus on for a minute. I'm assuming that for most of you watching, that you most likely are the one that does the grocery shopping and the cooking in your house. Maybe not, but I assume that most of you are. So I'm gonna talk to the majority here for a minute. This isn't you. I'll show you how to adapt in a minute. Picture the cash envelope system. Have you guys ever heard of that? You have several envelopes, like maybe 5 or even 10, and each envelope has cash in it. And those envelopes are for specific things, like a grocery envelope, maybe an eating out envelope, maybe a hair cutting envelope or a clothing envelope. I don't even know, dry cleaning envelope. And I've tried this before. I love the organization of it, and I love that, and that you know how much you have for each budget. But at the end of the day, for most of us, it works great for some, but for most of us, it's too much to manage. It's too much shuffling around. If I run out of money in my clothing envelope, I'll just open up other envelopes and pull money out of it anyway. It's like, why am I carrying around a million envelopes, which half the time I would lose. One of them would drop out of my wallet and there goes the money. And then I don't know where any of the money's gone. I don't know what I've spent it on. It was just kind of a mess. It didn't work for me. So I came up with my own envelope system, and wouldn't you know, it's gone viral so many times. It has worked for hundreds of thousands of people all around the globe, and it is so simple. I promise you, it is the simplest budgeting method you will ever do in your life. So I'm gonna show you how to do it, and hopefully it'll work for you as well. All you need is one envelope, one. We are going to pretend that this is a white envelope. This video, we are going with this dry erase board. This works with cash, it also works with card. What I decided is, instead of having 10 different budgets to budget all my little daily or weekly expenses, which, by the way, my spending changes from week to week. One week I may need soccer cleats, and one week I may need a throw pillow for my couch. It's like, I don't know, what budget does that come out of? We're gonna make it simple. I want you to get an envelope. I want you to divide it right in half. Boom. And you are only going to focus on 2 budgets. 2. You may have other budgets for your family, like a travel budget, whatever, but this, remember, is just your responsibilities and your day-to-day, week-to-week normal spending, not bills, not utilities, not emergencies or repairs, and not something that can be set up on auto pay. Just your normal week-to-week stuff. On one side, you're going to give a name to the budget of the thing that you spend the most on. For most of you watching, it's probably groceries. So we're gonna give you a grocery budget, and then for everything else, you ready for this? Get excited. It's really simple. Other. 2 budgets, grocery budget and other budget, or miscellaneous, or everything else, or whatever you wanna call it. The world is your oyster, call it whatever you want. That's it. We are simplifying, and this is all gonna be tracked on one envelope. If you are in debt, if you have trouble managing a credit card, please do this with cash. For the rest of you, if you really have a hold on your budget and your cash and you don't have debt and you're great with a card, awesome, use a card. You give yourself a budget for each of these categories. Grocery is fairly simple. Again, we go over this in huge detail on budgetbootcamp.com. A quick overview is I recommend $100 per person in your family per month, starting at $300 for groceries. So if you've got 4 people in your family, that's $400. 5 people in your family, $500 per month. 3 people in your family, $300. 2 people in your family, $300. And then the real trick is to break it down per week. For math's sake, for this video, I'm gonna pretend that I've got 2 kids and there are 4 people in my family. All you're gonna do is take your envelope and draw a line dividing your month into weeks. So let's say there's 4 weeks in this month. Remember what my budget is? My budget is $400 a month, but I don't want you to track your grocery budget per month anymore. Think about going on a diet and tracking calories. Do you track your calories an entire month at a time? No. It hurts your head. That's a lot of money to track. It's just, you need little bites. You need little bites that you can chew before moving on to the next one. So by breaking your budget down, instead of thinking of it by a whole month and having to track it for 30 or 31 days, you're only gonna track it for 7 or 6, really. So my budget, broken down, that $400, if you break it down per week, is I have $100 per week for groceries. Some of you might be panicking, thinking like, whoa, how am I only supposed to spend $400 a month or $500 a month on groceries? There's no way. I will tell you right now, it is very, very doable. I've been teaching this for years. Rachael Ray herself feels like that's a very reasonable budget. She told me herself. It all comes down to spending wisely, and it also comes down to planning ahead and cooking things from scratch. That's a whole nother story for a different day, but I will tell you it is doable. If it's absolutely not doable, if you live in Northern California or New York or Hawaii, obviously food can be quite a bit more expensive there, or maybe you have special dietary restrictions, whatever it is, that's okay, just adapt. Maybe add an extra $25 per person, so it's $125 a week. But I promise you, you only need to focus on this for 6 or 7 days. It's so short, and then your budget totally rolls over. So you'll be fine, take a breath. You can do this, just try it. Try it for 3 months, and if it doesn't work, give yourself a little more. Now, what does grocery include? That actually includes anything consumable. So yes, food and drink, but also diapers, dog food, cleaning supplies, toilet paper, shampoo, deodorant, things that you consume and use and then go back to the grocery store to buy and replenish. Do you hate me yet? Don't hate me. I promise it's doable. It really is. Now you have this little envelope and you're like, all right, I know my budget. I've got $100 per week for my little family of 4. And then for other, you need to come up with that budget on your own. When I was first starting out, all we could afford was $50 a week. That's really all we could afford. So whatever else was my responsibility to track, decor for our home, maybe getting my nails done or my hair done or shopping for clothes or whatever, all of that had to fit within this budget. It really just depends on your family and your financial situation and what you can afford. I'm gonna make it easy for us math-wise, and I'm going to say that this family gets $100 a week for everything else. So at the end of the day, they've got $200 a week and they can spend it on really whatever they want, but it's easy and mentally it's nice to divide it up so that every dime you have is not being sucked away into groceries, you know what I mean? So it's nice to kind of have a little divide there so mentally you like know where your boundary is. And then you just go about your business as usual. I recommend having a wallet where that envelope can either zip or snap right inside so it's always there. Let's say it's the beginning of the week, we run to the grocery store. Let's say you spend $80 at the grocery store, so you've got $20 left. You should always keep a running total of how much you have left. But let's say you totally run out of toilet paper and formula for the baby, and that's like something you have to have, right? So let's say you run at the store and let's say that costs you $25. Uh-oh, we are in the hole, $5. Oh boy, what you gonna do? Now this is the beauty of this simple budgeting technique is first of all, you only have to track it a week at a time. Every week it starts over. Every week it's beautiful. But also it gives you flexibility because you never want to borrow from the next week, but you can always borrow side to side. So let's say you just take that $5 out of your other budget. That's fine. You still have $95 for the next 6 or 7 days to handle everything else that you need. And if it comes to the weekend and you're running out of money, just hang tight. It's gonna start all over again in a couple of days. Just be sure not to borrow below the line. Don't borrow from the next week or you will be in debt to yourself forever. This is so simple and it works. This method alone has gotten people out of tens of thousands of dollars of debt. It has saved a lot of family fighting and it's helped people achieve their dreams and their goals because it's taking a big daunting thing like a budget and breaking it down so you only have to look at it 7 days at a time. And it's numbers that are very manageable. Maybe your budget for the week is $500. Maybe it's even $1,000. Maybe you just are doing really well financially. It doesn't really matter. What does matter is the awareness and the decision making. Okay, let's say that this week we've got a lot of company in town. Maybe it's Thanksgiving, maybe we need a lot of food, whatever it is. Maybe you have nothing in the house. Maybe there's big case lot sales, or maybe I buy a big order of bulk meat on sale, whatever. And let's say that I spend like $195 on groceries, pretty much everything for the week. That's okay. I hang tight for a couple of days. Well, the next week I've got plenty of food. My fridges are busting at the seams because for $200, you should, especially for a family of 4, you should be able to feed your family for at least 2 weeks on that. If you're wise, plan your meals in advance, cook things from scratch, don't waste anything, reuse your leftovers, all the stuff that I teach at funcheaperfree.com. Well, so the next week, I really do not need $100 for groceries. Maybe, let's say like 30 bucks for maybe some milk or some fresh fruit or veggies or something. But that adds $70 over here. So I have $170. So there you go. Whatever it is, like it gives you the flexibility of on the weeks that you don't need a lot of groceries because you spent a lot the week before on groceries, that you can use it for other and you can plan ahead that way. If I've got a big birthday party one week, maybe I need more for other, and then the next week I need more for grocery. But that's it. Now, if your main responsibility, the one that you need the biggest budget for, if it's not grocery, that's okay, name it whatever else. For my husband, he's actually in charge of all of our entertainment, our family entertainment. So our date nights, going out to movies or out to dinner as a family, if we go mini golf or bowling or any of that, my husband handles that. So for him, his would most likely say entertainment because I'm the one doing the grocery shopping, remember? Since I'm doing it, he doesn't need to. We can work together and plan the meals together, but really I'm the one doing that. So you can adapt that. The coolest part about this is when you have this little envelope, when you're at the store or spending money wherever, you have to open your wallet anyway, right? You have to get out your cash or your card or whatever. So just take out your envelope, hand your cash or your card to the cashier, grab that pen because you need to sign the little thing anyway. When they tell you your total, write it down right then and there on the envelope. They'll hand you your receipt, stick the receipt inside the envelope, and then tuck that envelope away, and then at the end of the month, file that envelope. And at the end of the year, you've got 12 neat little envelopes with every receipt from everything that you have spent money on for a whole year. If you need to go back for returns, if you get audited, if you need them for tax purposes, it's all there. It is so simple. It works. I don't even know what to say. It's simple, stupid even. That simple envelope and breaking your budget down by week, simplifying all your spending just into 2 little budgets for you personally, not like family spending and all that, remember, but just what you personally spend money on will make such a huge impact on your family. Start there. If you want more help, please go to budgetbootcamp.com. It's a really fun online budgeting program. I've got 27 videos that are way more exciting than this, and I walk you through everything from A to Z, from setting goals with your spouse and how to have a communication and conversation about money without fighting, on up to how to save up for your dream house or your dream vacation on whatever income it is that you have. We have sections on what to do if your paycheck's not enough. We have sections on debt. We have sections on working from home or allowance or how not to raise entitled kids. Everything is in there. It's really fun. So again, use the code IAMMOM to get 15% off. And of course, I have years of free content on my blog, funcheaperfree.com, and then YouTube is really fun. Go subscribe to my YouTube channel. I have new videos every Thursday. I hope this was helpful to you. I hope you enjoyed this conference. Please connect with me on social media. I share tips and tricks and little bits every single day, especially on Instagram. So I hope you follow me there. Enjoy this conference. Connect with me if you have any further questions. Leave a comment on my Instagram page and I'll get back to you. I hope you guys have a fabulous day. Now, if you don't mind, gotta get back to mom duties. Bye guys, thanks so much.